decided we'd introduce ourselves first and kind of give you a little bit of background. There we go. Is that better?
Thank you.
Okay, my voice doesn't carry very well, so that's probably best. Mine does. Melinda's does. She has more children, so she. Anyways, we thought we'd introduce ourselves a little bit just so you know what our background is. So I'll start out. First of all, we've been nurses together for 25 years. We started right out of nursing school together up on a medical floor at LDS Hospital, and then went to shock trauma ICU, which we've been there for 23 plus years in the trauma ICU. Also doing TREC. I've been involved with TREC this is my 4th time to go for TREC this year. And I'm also involved in a DMAT team here in Utah, which is a disaster strike team, which will land in and when there's a massive disaster anywhere in the nation, they'll deploy us for 3 weeks, so I'm involved with that. And so we've had a little bit of experience with trauma. A lot of it's controlled in the hospital environment. Now that I'm on the disaster team, it's a little bit more hands-on, and it's been a great experience. So I guess that's why she felt like we could probably say a few things about some of the things in this kit. So we're definitely not professional speakers. We'll learn that here real quick, but happy to be here, happy to be with Melinda, and I'll turn it over to you. You can tell about yourself.
Thank you. Well, I've done all of some of that. And I also worked on Life Flight for 6 years, and I am the medical representative for our stake for the emergency response team. So I've been working with the stake for 3 or 4 years probably, specifically in the calling, but of course I did that calling before I actually had the calling, because you know how things work that way. So we do have a little bit of experience between us. We can pretty much take care of anything that happens to you, if we have our machines.
Yeah. And if you have your bandages, that's one thing that we'll talk about with these kits. Some of this big kits you'll see on your forms and stuff, that there's this trauma bandage, and my friends were like, well, why would I need that? And I said, because when I show up at your door, I've only got enough for my family at home, and so when I come to take care of yours, you're going to want to have some stuff on hand. So make sure that you take a good look at this. There's bandages and dressings in here that are not in a normal first aid kit. These are disaster or major event bandage packs, and it's a fabulous price and great thing. So that's why when someone shows up at your house, if you don't know how to use them, they're going to be looking for some supplies at your house to be able to do what they need to. So a lot of my friends said, oh, when you said that, it made me realize that's what we needed to do.
This is some good stuff. Like Sherry said, this is a lot of basic first aid stuff that you guys will all know how to use. But there's 3 or 4 things in here that are kind of extra. And you can go on YouTube and look at these things. That's some of the things, those 3 things right there. If you look those up by name, you can see a whole YouTube video on exactly how to use them. They're in here. But they're pretty cool, so we'll go over them a little bit. So we wanted to stress, have your own first aid kit. This is a really great first aid kit. You can do just about anything with this for a long term. And you can pick it up, put it in your car, your boat, your camper, your whatever, and take it with you and always have everything you need. The next thing that we want to stress, besides having your own stuff, is personalize it. Like these are 2 kits that belong to 2 different people. Okay, the same basic stuff. They all have these bags of the things that you can order on the order form. They all have these things in them. But the top, I mean, this one's different than that one. And everybody has their own thing. You know, somebody, like Tammy said the last time, she said, my daughter gets cold sores, so I put cold sore stuff in it. And she likes this silver spray stuff. And, you know, Sherry might like something else. Maybe Sherry gets diarrhea a lot. Sorry. I'm sorry. It's okay. We have bad
Sherry last when she was asking us to do this, and we came to the last presentation, and it was 2 cute little ladies, and they sang a song. I don't even remember what tune it was. And I said, we're not singing. I said,
it was cute though.
The only thing we have to add is like, there's sadness in the air, people dying everywhere. That's the kind of songs we sing. So you don't want us to sing for you, so anyways, sorry about that.
And besides that, we've worked night shifts for the last 25 years. So that explains it.
Yeah.
Okay, so when we're done, come up and look through all these things and just make lists of things as you go home, you know, for the next, like, you know how they say keep a list of everything you've eaten for a week. Well, keep a list of all the medicines, medical equipment, anything that you might want to use, like for a month, you know, just jot it down somewhere. Those are the things that you're going to need to put in your kit. If you have prescription medicine, the best thing to do is get your prescription, put it, you know, work your way ahead. You can get them like a week early sometimes. Try and keep a stash of them. And put the new one in your kit, take the old one out and use that for the month. Put the new one in. So eventually you have some medicine, if you have some prescription medicine. Or just anything you go through, that's how you rotate it, and that's how you know what you need. So just kind of make a list of everything that you think you might need. You know, there's bandages and all sorts of things, but it's really the personalized stuff. Like, if you have really bad allergies, you'll want allergy stuff. If you need eye drops, you know, that's not part of it, but some of this kind of stuff you'll really love. What if it's a bad windstorm and you have no eye drops out there? You know, it sounds kind of silly, but those are the things that are going to be the most soothing to you. So get your own stuff. That's our main thing. So we want to talk about the things that are in here, not necessarily one by one, but if you'll look on the list here, it shows everything that's in there. But also on the website, you can choose to buy the whole thing with a box, or each bag individually. This one is not part of the whole main kit, this is an extra. But it's mostly dressings and a few extra things that are kind of cool.
Yeah.
So that's called the drum bag. So we don't necessarily want to go over each thing, but what we want to do is think about the kinds of things that could happen to us. What kind of disasters? You write this down? Yeah, because you're better. So what kinds of things could happen to us?
Well, earthquake.
Earthquakes, okay?
Can you talk specific injuries that you're asking? or
Just
just-
that. Okay, what else could happen here? Nuclear blast, nuclear problem. Okay.
How about a chemical spill at the train?
Chemical spill,
Fire.
fire,
We've even known to have tornadoes here.
yes, tornadoes.
You know, you could even just trip and fall yourself and break something, step on something.
Right,
So-
so fractures.
These are huge things, but
These are
these
huge
kits are
things.
for small everyday use.
Right, so we're going to talk about these and then think about the kinds of injuries we could have as a result of these.
Dog attack, what?
Okay.
Dog attack, oh yeah.
How about
That would be scary. That's actually happened to me before, so I don't like that
Or it
one.
could be any animal, like a
Pandemic
bear.
or plague.
Pandemic or plague,
how about
With drowning, all the swimming pools.
drowning. How about drought? Anything else you can think of?
Household accident.
How about poison? How about, like, if one of the kids eats something they shouldn't, or drinks or whatever? Because we have lots of stuff in our homes and garages that are poison. Okay. So that looks pretty
Things in the
scary.
garage.
Things in the garage.
Yes. Another one that we could look at, anybody with a swimming pool, if you've noticed this electrocution thing that's taking place with swimming pools. And
Right.
you need to be able to treat if you can get them fast enough to save them.
And actually, we have enough storms that we have personally taken care of multiple people that have been hit by lightning. Mhm.
We hear more and more about carbon dioxide,
Carbon monoxide.
monoxide.
Yes, that is very common. And very deadly in a short time.
What about economic, if the whole, if things weren't working for the world?
Yeah, just the economy in general. Okay, so if you come up with anything else, let us know. But so these are just a few things that could happen to us. And they're all pretty bad. So in an earthquake, what's going to happen? Your house is going to fall apart, it's going to land on you. What kind of injuries are you going to get?
Internal bleeding.
Probably.
Puncture
external bleeding, puncture wounds, broken bones,
Gas
We
leak,
didn't-
water leak.
gas leak and water leak, right? We didn't mention heart attack, but that's fairly common.
What else am I missing so far? I like slower than we talked
How about burns?
Shock.
Shock? Lots of different kinds of
By
shock.
watching other people get hurt.
Yeah, shock like you're afraid of something, but also physical shock, like maybe from heavy bleeding,
Cardiac arrest.
right? Cardiac arrest. How about if something lands on your head,
Concussion.
like a wall?
Blunt trauma.
Blunt trauma is bad stuff, because it sometimes doesn't look that bad from the outside, but it does a lot of damage on the inside, to your body and your brain. So, these are a lot of things that are kind of heavy duty. So what if you only had your first aid kit, and some of these things happened to you when your house fell in? Do you think, say it's our whole neighborhood, do you think you could just call 911 and say, my house just fell in, come help me? Are they gonna come? 3,000 people are gonna be calling them at the same time, right?
How long do you think the average response time is from EMS in an emergency,
15 minutes.
in a disaster?
If
Oh,
you're
so
the
in a
only
disaster.
one.
Okay, I
Talking
guess
about
in a disaster,
now.
like say Katrina
3+ days.
or something like that, how fast do you think
3
you're
weeks.
gonna get medical help?
Red Cross.
You're
At
lucky
least
if
5
it's 3 days, it might be 3 weeks, it might be a month,
But
it might be never. I mean, if it's a big enough earthquake, it could be our whole city, and everything could be gone. You just never know. So you need to educate yourselves a little bit on how to take care of things, and have enough stuff, enough equipment to take care of yourselves if you can. I mean, if you have, not to be really awful, but if you have a severed limb, if a wall falls and cuts your arm off, are you gonna live or die?
depends
Do you have a saw?
on how
Depends.
quickly you get.
On how prepared you are, how educated you are, how prepared
I'll come over.
you are. I mean, we do have heavy-duty medical equipment like a tourniquet, If you put this on and keep it on, you're gonna stop bleeding, but you're gonna lose your arm. You might have to make that choice. Sorry, we're not very funny. This is like heavy
There's
stuff.
sadness in the air.
So, you have to think about all these things that could happen, and do you have the knowledge and the equipment to take care of yourself? What if it's just a cold? What if it's a scrape? If you get cut or an abrasion or something, then you can take care of that and clean it up really good. But what we found is the most important thing is to clean it up and take care of it. Because you're not gonna die from a scrape. But you are gonna die.
An infection. So
3 days later, you're gonna get really
Your
sick.
first response is to control the bleeding or to treat the wound, and get the bleeding stopped, get that under control. But the second, and probably almost as important or more important, is to clean it out. Which is why this little piece of the kit is so important. And this is the wound cleaning kit. Especially if you've got anything that gets into the surface, goes puncturing or deep laceration, it's gotta be irrigated out. And if you'll look in these kits.
You can't just wash it from the outside and hope it's good. If it's a puncture and it goes inside, you have to, there's a little syringe in here, fill it up with maybe plain water to start and get the big stuff out, and then saline if you can, and squirt it in there and clean it out. It has to hurt, or it's not gonna be clean.
That's the nurse model.
Yeah.
So these will come with your kit. These are water packets. You can either use them for hydration, but you can also use them for your first level of cleaning. Take fresh tap water, this kind of water, put it in your syringe, put it in there, irrigate it out until it's clean. And then you'll see the other things that are in here, some betadine and some hydrogen peroxide. That's what you would use next.
And there's also an eye wash in here, which is a squirt bottle. So you can use that if something gets in your eye, but you can also use it to have pressure to squirt out a wound.
Once it's empty, once the squirt bottle's empty, refill it with tap water and use it to squirt and inject with some.
Yeah, this is sterile, but it's better to have something than nothing. So that's another reason to have good water storage, not only to drink to save your life, but to clean things to save your life. So, what else? So, bandage pack, should we just go pack to pack?
Sure.
Okay, in the bandage pack, I don't know if you have the list with you, but
Yeah, if you guys don't have the list with you, on that site, it talks about the complete first aid kit, and it comes with a couple of bandage packs, and that's this main pack here.
there are kind of two parts to it.
Yeah, so this is the pack, the bandage pack that'll come with that basic first aid kit. And then it'll also list in that, what else comes in the kit with it. Okay, so when you refer to your order sheet on the website, this is the bandage pack that it's talking about. It's 2 packages together, that's the one kit. And then it'll have all the different little supplies that are with it. And then below it is a different option, and that's this one, which is the trauma kit. So that's how you'll know, you'll be able to differentiate which ones you want to buy.
Does the trauma kit have everything that's in those 2 kits, or
No.
it's completely
Different.
different?
Completely different.
Okay.
When we did this the first time, we spent a lot of time together with Sherry and Danny, and they had come up with a really great first aid kit, but being in this business for a while, I have this little thing that I call my toolkit. I said, you have to have a toolkit, which is kind of a funny name, but it has my favorite tool of all, which is hemostats. Does anybody know what those are?
Those little clamp.
They're like tweezers but longer, and they clamp together. You can fix anything. You can fix jewelry, you can fix people, really, and they hold things together, and they're the greatest. And they're cheap, but they're so nice to have.
How many pairs do you need? Just one?
You can never have too many. I have about 10, because they're disposable. You know, so they get thrown away. Actually, we have a collection.
stainless steel.
Yeah, these aren't disposable, but the ones that we use at work are.
Are they plastic or they're metal?
No, they're metal.
But they're,
Stainless steel.
Yeah.
well,
They're
she said
disposable for
working.
the hospital, not necessarily for you, but they're disposable at the hospital.
Right.
That's what she's talking
Yeah.
about. But they're
So you can't just,
durable, you
like,
can
take
clean them
them
off and keep them in your kit. They won't go bad, they won't go, no expiration date.
Did you have a comment?
I was just gonna say earlier when you said on the site, would you remind us what the site address is?
Oh.
It's
Is it the
Caffeinated.
landing or-
Caffeinated.
It's
caffeinatedpreparedness.com.
Or RRE crack versus.
Yeah, and you'll come up with a order form that looks like this. It's just a short one. This is the basic order form, and then throughout the website, it will have the list of the whatever bag it is with all the stuff in it. If you buy them, they come with a little sticker like this that has all the stuff in it. So if you use something, just mark it off or make a list or something, and you can go out and rebuy this stuff.
Now, this is said caffeinated what?
Preparedness.
Preparedness, all one word.
Yes, that's Sherry's doing. Write it up there. So,
I was just gonna say, this is one thing I liked about Tammy's kit that she did. She went through and listed everything
Top,
that's
Sherry, the top.
in her kit. And she's got even her medications written down here with their expiration dates on it, so that she can tell what's in there. And if she goes in and uses something out of her kit, she'll make a note on this piece of paper. Then she'll know and remember to replace it. And this is great, she just folds it up like this into a 3-piece fold, and it just remains in her kit, and it's on her computer, so she can update it and stick a new one back in. It's really effective.
so most of this stuff, I guess we hope you don't really ever use. But there's a lot of things that are just basic dressings and Band-Aids and just stuff you're gonna use. Use it. See what's in there. I mean, take advantage of it. There's a lot of really awesome stuff in here. So what else? You've got the wound cleaning kit, very important for cleaning. The toolkit, very important to do anything you may want to.
That's one nice thing about the hemostats that she talked about that I've used at home is those big slivers that you get in that are like embedded. We had a scout project at our house a couple of weeks ago, and my husband got a big old piece of wood bark just jammed in his hand, and it was stuck. And I tried to get a hold of it with a pair of tweezers, but it slides off, right? So you get a hold of it and you try to pull it, you get a hold of it and try to pull it, but these hemostats on the tips of them where they squeeze together, they've got little
Teeth.
grooves and
They
teeth.
have
So
straight-
you can, my husband, I thought he was gonna die when I came out with this pair of hemostats, but you can get a hold of that little piece of wood or whatever it is that's in there, and it'll grip that, and then you can pull it out. Now, if it's a great big object that's like an impaled thing, you don't wanna pull it out. But if it's just a sliver or something like that that you can get a hold of, or somebody goes fishing and gets a fish hook caught in them, get a hold of it, stabilize it with that hemostat, cut the end of the barb off, and then take it out. And those
Get out the other way.
hemostats just stabilize and hold. They're wonderful. You can leave them 9
Yeah, because you don't want to like jiggle it back and forth, you know, once you get a hold of it, you want to get it out. So, that's true, by the way. If it's a little thing and you think you can get it out, like a fish hook or a sliver or something, get it out. If it's a big thing and you're punctured or impaled with something, don't get it out. Go to the stake emergency first aid center, which is going to be manned by anyone who shows up.
I was just gonna say, and the reason for that is if you do have something that's impaled, it can be right up against a major vessel. And so with it in place, you stay stable and there's not bleeding possibly. If you pull it out, you can either rupture something coming out or pull it away from something that it's holding pressure on and you can bleed out. So if you've got somebody that's impaled, and they've all seen those gross pictures on the web or whatever, that people that have had a big impalement of something, if it's impaled and it's big and it's near anything major, leave it and have somebody pull it out, okay? Take a look.
Because it's essentially filling up the hole. So if you pull it out, then there's a hole. Yes,
All those things that you can grab something. Hemostats.
we call them hemostats.
It's a
Show
little
again.
tool.
It's the first one on the list, hemostat. Hemo is blood, stat is, you know, quick, stop. And so what it does is, it was originally used to just clamp a vessel so it stopped bleeding. But it clamps a lot more things than that, and these are awesome.
I'll just walk down to it.
So you can add, you know, anything you want to your kit, but think of all these things that are gonna happen. Okay, so if you have a fracture, does anybody know what to do? Say something fell on your leg, and you have a bone sticking out, your femur bone sticking out. What are you gonna do?
Probably gonna die. 'Cause
What are you gonna do second? Because first, you're gonna do something we don't wanna say on camera probably. It's pretty awful.
Broken femurs are life-threatening, so I think you're gonna try to splint it and then head to the stake center.
Yeah. And what are you gonna use to splint it? Say it's your arm, let's not be so graphic.
Okay, so it's not as life-threatening.
Say it's your arm. What are you gonna use to splint it? Do you guys know how to splint?
You can use a rolled up newspaper. That's what I
Or
do.
you could use.
You're trying.
But you can use your nifty splint, purple splint thing.
You could use this purple splint right here.
You could use a pillow.
You could use a pillow and wrap it up. Yeah, you can use anything. You can use a couple of yardsticks. You can use a couple of pieces of firewood. You know, you can use anything. This is really cool.
You can reach it.
The thing I really like about this is that you can stabilize a pretty severe fracture with it, but it's reusable. So this is a great bandage for that, and it's kind of just, I don't know if you guys can see it, it's kind of got a soft foam across the back of it. Really nice, but it molds, so you can mold it to whatever shape you want it to be.
Arm, leg.
And so when you use this on like an arm, say if you've got a fracture here or in the elbow, you can use this to splint it by making, they call it a sugar clamp. I guess somebody who ever thought about it is into sugar like we are. I'd call it a chocolate clamp, but this is a sugar clamp. And he says to measure it on somebody that's the same size or close to you or on yourself. He says if you've got somebody that's got a fractured arm, they're not gonna want you to come over and lift it up and down and start trying to measure it. Nobody's gonna like that, and you're not gonna be their favorite healthcare provider with your chocolate clamp. So what you do is you take it, roll a little piece like this, put it in the palm of their hand, and then you can adjust this to the exact length of the arm that you're splinting. Now I can take this and I can bend it around my arm and mold it completely to exactly fit that arm. You can come down here on the elbow and squeeze it here and squeeze it in the back, and suddenly this arm can't move.
Well, do you
Yeah,
wrap it with like an ace bandage or
Now,
something?
yeah,
You can.
inside the middle of it is this little curly stuff that's that stretchy
Oh,
tape
it's
that
that.
sticks on itself.
Like that horse stuff, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, you can use the horse stuff. We call this Coban, I guess that's the brand name. But the horse stuff is cheaper and exactly the same.
yeah, so if you use this out of your kit, go over to one of the IFA or those kind of thing, and they sell this
They
to put
come
on
in the pretty
horses.
colors, not.
They have pink, and the football players like to wear it for breast cancer.
It's on the order form.
It's on the order form.
Yeah,
It's
at the
very
very
nice.
bottom.
Yep.
So the other thing when you're splinting is, another important thing, you guys probably know this, I don't know, but say you have a broken arm here in the middle, the whole point of a splint is to immobilize the joints on both sides. Because if you don't, then this broken part is still gonna wobble around. So you have to immobilize the joints on both sides.
Right, and you can also, if you don't, like if you haven't replaced this, what else do you have in your kit that you can use to wrap around this? Ace bandage.
Ace bandage.
So just pull out an ace bandage and you can wrap it around. Now, if you use
Shoelace.
newspapers and stuff like that, and you split this piece, you can still do this rotating with your wrist. When you bring this one in and you've got that elbow and you've got this down, you really can't.
You
really
can't move your hand because she's got this little,
Okay, so you're not
Fold in
rotating
here.
your wrist. It's more solid.
and
And like
might
I
be
said,
painful.
When you're done with it, you wash it all off, because of course it's gonna be, a bloody trauma or something, we think, we hope. And
No,
then,
we don't hope.
just kidding.
It's just our normal life.
And then you can just roll it back up and put it back in your kit. It's reusable. For that price on there, it's the most useful splint that I know of in this box. It's my favorite. It's the one I use the most. If there's a situation like that, even if it's a sprain, it's not comfortable to move it.
It's right here in the trauma pack. It's in the trauma pack, right here at the bottom.
Yep. And I think, is that one of them that you can order separate? I don't think it is.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Oh, it's called the purple splint.
Third one from the bottom, purple splint. Purple, of course. And you can just wipe it off with, those Clorox wipes or whatever, which are also, by the way, really good to keep in around your kit. Because if you clean your dirty, bloody wounds with dirty hands, that's not gonna help. So, wash your hands first, just try and be as clean as possible. We all live in a really clean environment. Wash our hands 20 times a day, I don't know, 20,000 for us, I'm sure, but when we don't have running water and we don't have sanitation, it's gonna be kind of ugly out there. So thinking about being clean is really important.
I just flew in from Phoenix, spent 3 days at a convention, and this morning at 5 o'clock, the hotel lost water.
Oh.
10 stories.
Oh.
There was a police.
What did he say?
Lost
600
water,
people
the
in
hotel lost the water.
The convention
So,
was
the
about
water.
1,000.
1,000 people.
Wow, yeah, but they were nasty.
And that's one day.
Yeah.
So-
It's just a couple of
Yeah,
hours.
Exactly.
It was less than, that was 6 hours.
So when these things happen to us, not if, something's gonna happen. Then, if you don't have your own provisions, over the years, we, Sherry and Tammy and everybody has talked about things like sanitation and clean water, and when you run out of the water that you've stored, where do you get more and how do you make it clean? All those things is just a little bit of a part. This is just a little bit of a part too. This is more emergent, this is like right now. But if you don't have all that other stuff, if you don't have water and food and shelter, then all your great first aid in 3 days, you're not gonna have anything to drink or eat. It'll be bad. So, what other injuries should we talk about? We got punctures, fractures, burns. How about burns?
Can I ask a question?
Mhm.
Is the trauma bandage pack inside the first aid complete?
No, that is extra. The first aid complete is all these other little bags. There's a list on it. And the trauma bandage pack is extra.
What she, I think, was referring to maybe even more so is like, you say the purple splint is included in the trauma bag,
Yes.
bandage pack, but it's also listed down here as extra items.
In case you want an extra.
Okay, but so, are any of these things, other things also included in that trauma bandage pack that are listed extra? That's what she was trying to figure out, because we've got it down there, but all of a sudden it was back up here, and so we're just trying to figure that out.
What is in the extra items?
So you're wanting us to have the trauma pack in case somebody comes to our house and you haven't. So it's like you just buy it and you don't
Yeah,
rate it.
unless you have a major event at your house, I just wouldn't even open that. If you have a major event, it's there, but unless you do have.
Just keep
And
it-
then I think on your specific orders of what's in the kit, maybe at the end we could have Sherry address that, because she could probably address that a little bit more than we are. We're not as familiar with exactly what's in the kit.
We just want to teach you what to do with any of these injuries. And if you have any comments, questions about specific injuries, go
One
for
thing I
it.
was gonna tell you, the thing that's nice about having more than one of these is you can use this as on your foot. Mold it this way, mold it around your foot, lay another one on top. As you curve it and move it around this way, it makes it more and more stiff. And you can put this on the back of your calf, and then put another one on the top of your calf, and you can use it for that. So it's good to have more than one.
Those ankle injuries and foot injuries are probably going to be pretty common.
Yeah, lots of debris. Lots of debris and things to be stepping over. You know, that can a lot of times be a secondary injury for the rescuers that are out wandering around, or if you're out hiking, or how many times is it when you're on trek? That was probably our number one injury, other than blisters and stinky feet, which I did a bunch of that. But our second injury is a twisted ankle.
We do have moleskin in here too,
Yep.
for blisters. Because, like, if you're at work, which is some miles away from your home, and you have dress shoes on, it's gonna be a long walk. So,
Let me put a plug in. If you have a job that's a long ways from home, you should keep a pair of hikers in your car.
you should have a car first aid kit too, a first emergency kit. And even at work, you know, a lot of places, like my husband works for the state, and they have a red backpack that they all keep by their desk that's an emergency pack, and maybe a lot of your jobs do that too, and if not, just do your own. I mean, it can have a few food items and water and some shoes and socks, and just put your old things in. It doesn't matter, I mean, a jacket, a pair of sweats, whatever. If you're wearing a dress and heels, you're surely not gonna wanna walk in the winter 20 miles to get home.
Yeah, that'll be worse than the pioneer children that walked and walked and walked. You'll sing that all the way home as you walk. There'll be some more singing going on, and it's not gonna be nice.
That's right. So say, let's get a little more heavy, I guess, but say something falls on your head. How do you know if you have a head injury, or if one of your family members has a head injury? What does head injury mean? Is anybody familiar with concussion?
It swells.
It's bleeding inside the head.
It can be swelling or bleeding in different kinds of areas. It's all bad.
Dizziness, nausea.
So concussion is pretty common. You can get hit pretty hard and still only have a concussion, but you can get hit not very hard and have some bleeding that's life-threatening. So not that we can fix that with our, you know, if you don't have a hospital available, or maybe we will have a hospital available, but how do you know? Like, say your child falls off the top of this slide, lands on their head. That happened to my child.
A lot of it's determined by the eyes.
Yeah, what are you gonna see in their eyes?
If one's big and one's small.
Right.
Difference in.
If they're big or if they're different from each other, that's a problem.
Cerebral fluid through the ears, and it's
Vomiting.
a clear liquid with the
Vomiting.
tinge.
That means they have a skull fracture if they have fluid coming out, right?
They'll ask the same question of you over and over, and you ask them questions, who's the president? And if they say Kennedy, they got
That's a
problems.
problem. Yeah, and I think they're a little confused. Sometimes they're just a little bit confused, and then 6 or 8 hours down the line, you can't get them to wake up. They're just so asleep, you can't get them to wake up. So usually head injuries start off not so bad, and then they just get worse and worse because of the swelling, so.
One thing that you know too is someone that's at really a high risk for a head bleed is anybody that would be on a blood thinner. If you have someone that's on a blood thinner, if somebody takes Coumadin or any of those pills that for AFib or artificial valve that keeps their blood in, even if someone takes a fair amount of aspirin, they can get a minor concussion, and then over a period of a week, your family starts to notice, she is a goober. And it's those things, they start doing that repetitive things, or they start acting a little strange, their personality isn't quite right. So especially with the elderly, we'll get a lot of ground level falls and strike their head, and if they're on a blood thinner, you need to let the medical center know. If we are in a situation where we maybe have limited medical attention available to us, that is something you'd want to mention. I've got a family member here that has a head injury that is on a blood thinner. And so we need to be seen. It's a more urgent thing than just your kid falling off the swing set, that you can check on them frequently during the night. Control whatever bleeding's on the scalp or head, and then just assess their pupils, whether they're nauseous, whether they're sleepy, whether they're not making sense. But if you're on a blood thinner, that's something that you really need to think about as far as head injuries go.
Yeah, something else while we're talking about personalizing your kit. I mean, those of you that are on prescription pain medicines, or even if they're not prescription, even if it's just Tylenol, you know, you should read over the side effects of your medicines every once in a while, just to make sure. I mean, even if you've been taking them for a long time, you know, when you pick them up at the pharmacy, don't they still give you that little instruction sheet that has all this stuff? Just read that every once in a while. Or maybe what you could do is put that instruction sheet in your kit. Because then if somebody comes to your house and they can see what you're taking, you know, there's a billion medications out there and nobody's going to know. Some people will know, but most people aren't going to know by looking at this pill bottle what that's even for. So that might be a good thing. Fold that paper up and put it in your kit and kind of review it every once in a while and let your family know what you're taking and what kind of some of the side effects are. Because you may be forgetful if you get a head injury, and you may think, oh, I forgot to take my Coumadin today, I guess I'll take it again. You know, you just never know, so you have to be really careful with that.
EMS systems will recommend that if you're on any medication that's necessary, or even if it isn't, that you just make a list, itemized list of all the medications you're on, and just keep it on the side of your fridge, so that if any EMS person comes to your home, they'll know exactly what you're on and what your needs may be. It helps out a lot.
Or just keep a copy of it in your wallet or your purse or something, just a little paper so that they know what to look for. Okay, how about airway?
No, burns first.
Oh, burns.
Go back to burns.
Go back to burns. What do you want to know about burns? Don't get them. Okay, so there's 3 degrees of burns, right? 1st degree burn is what?
Red.
It's like a sunburn.
It's like a sunburn. It hurts, it's painful, and you think that was really dumb. What's 2nd degree?
Blisters.
Blisters. And what do you do about the blisters?
Leave them. Well, you
Nothing.
You don't
Keep them there. They're padding. Wrap them up and protect them. Don't pop them. All that fluid in there is padding, that's protection, that's sterile. It's not going to get infected while that baby skin underneath is growing. So keep that on there and just keep it wrapped up and dry. You don't have to put anything on it. Don't put anything on it. I mean, you can put it in cool water or something like that, but just keep it protected. How about a 3rd degree burn? What does that feel like?
Open sore.
Does it hurt?
It doesn't hurt in the center.
Very little pain.
Why doesn't it hurt?
Because the nerves.
Kill the nerves.
Because it's pretty deep.
But you'll have pain around the edges where
Yeah.
it's 2nd degree.
Right. So those 3rd degree burns are going to be pretty dangerous because you're not going to really feel them. You're not going to know how bad it is. Like when you get a sunburn, it hurts for quite a while. But the 3rd degree burns don't really hurt. But they have broken through your protective layer of skin and they're going to get infected. There's nothing on them to protect them anymore. So those are the ones you need to wash carefully. And, you know, keep a dry dressing on them, something sterile that's as clean as possible, because those are the ones that have just broken through your first defense, your skin, that you're going to get infected. So just be careful with those. Anything else?
I'm just going to say,
Now on a 3rd degree burn, you don't use antiseptic on it, do you? You don't. People
can.
used to use salve and all this good stuff, and you don't do that anymore.
if you've got a 3rd degree burn, it needs to be seen. It needs to have medical attention. Just cover it and just go in and be seen.
You can clean it, wash it, just like you would any injury, and then just wrap it up with something dry and clean. Because if you get infected, that's bad.
What is the burn aid that you have in the first aid kit?
It's more for the 2nd degree. It's kind of a numbing, it's sort of like aloe vera with numbing stuff like lidocaine in it. It's pretty good stuff for bad sunburns.
One thing I was just going to say about a burn, when you get burned initially, you'll get the initial burn, but then you've got several layers of tissue. And so originally that burn will hit that upper layer of tissue, and you pull your hand away or you get off of what it is that burnt you, but the skin, the way it works is after you've even originally been burned, it will continue to go down through the layers. So the important thing about a burn is to immediately, if I get burned up with the stove or something, immediately run over to something cold. If it's cold water at the sink or ice, whatever you can do, cool that off as fast as possible to stop that multi-layer burning, okay? Yeah, and just keep it there. Besides, it feels better. It feels better to have a little ice on something that you just burnt, but it also will arrest the levels of burn that it continues to do, the secondary effect from a burn.
Why not put ointment on a deep burn?
It's not gonna help it. And then also you can just introduce junk, they're gonna have to debride it. All that tissue's gonna have to come off.
And it's not water soluble.
Yeah, it's just, it's
Ointments are
oil.
oily, they're not water soluble.
And then you introduce it, that's like introducing oil or something right into a wound, it's an open wound.
But that burn care is water soluble.
Yeah, the burn care you can put on, if you've got a ruptured blister or something, you can still put that on, and it's kind of an anesthetic.
You got that there?
It's
in
in,
here somewhere. It's a bottle.
Right here, and it comes.
Oh, it's right here, it's right here.
It's right there.
It's this stuff.
Oh, the burn
It's clear, it's a clear gel, and, can you see it from the top? It's a clear gel, and it feels wet, which is, of course, the point. It covers it up and keeps it protected, and it feels wet, which is cool. So it makes it feel better,
And
and it
it's made
protects
to
it.
stop the burning
And it's,
specifically.
yeah, it's made to stop those layers from getting injured.
So the aloe draws the heat out and the lidocaine did
Because
kind of.
have you ever burned yourself one day and then the next day it hurts and the next day it hurts and the next day it hurts? And then the next time you burn yourself and you put ice on it for 2 or 3 hours and you think, tomorrow you think, oh, it's not so bad. It really makes a big difference if you do it right off the bat. Put something cold on it quickly.
What's that called?
Burn free.
burn free.
It's not the burn aid, sorry.
It's the
Burn aid.
burn.
It is the
It's
burn
the
aid.
same
Okay.
Burn aid.
That's the brand name. It's the same
Okay.
thing. Okay. Questions on burns? How about airways? How long can you live without breathing?
8 to 10 minutes.
You can live for 3 or 4 minutes, but how long can your brain live without oxygen?
10.
3 minutes. And then you start to lose brain cells at a rate of like millions a second.
Some of us don't have millions to give, so.
We've already lost a few. So air is important. You don't have to give them oxygen, and you don't have to do, breathing and all that. You can, if you want to do CPR and everything, that's a whole nother thing, which is very important, by the way. But you have to make sure that they have an airway. So say something falls on somebody in your family, and you run to their bedroom and find them on the floor, and their neck's all crunked over, and they're not breathing. So don't panic and start CPR. All you have to do is straighten up their head, make sure they have an airway, see if they're breathing.
Head and tilt, gently.
I can give an example of this one. This was a great story for me. I was at my daughter's baptism. Sitting on the back row, 8 little children all lined up in white. And one of the visiting bishopric members was up on the stand. And all of a sudden I see my husband lean back during the opening hymn song and say, "They need you on the stand."
Can't hear you.
He said, "They need you on the stand." And I thought, why would they need me on the stand? I couldn't see a thing going on, but what had happened is one of the bishopric members at this baptism, unbeknownst to him, had developed a brain tumor. And as we're sitting there singing the opening hymn, here he goes down, full-blown seizure. And he's just up there seizing. And so by the time I finally recognized that my husband was serious and they really did need me on the stand, which is rare, I got up there and he was gray. He had been seizing enough time. I called his name and he looked like a second like he was going to look at me, and then he started again. And I'm like, oh boy, we're in trouble. And so we immediately picked him up and carted him out into the side hall. And he was as gray as you ever want to see anybody gray, but the only thing that this man needed from me was an open airway, which when you go, every one of you should be CPR certified. You can get that free through South Jordan Fire Department. It's on their website. They'll teach
I'm
you
an
how.
instructor and I'll have a
She's an
class.
instructor.
Yep, do it,
When?
because that's all required, okay?
Another thing you should do is be qualified. Certified, that's the word.
But all he needed was me to lay him on his back, and you'll learn this new class if you don't even know how to do it, just do a jaw thrust. And as soon as I did, just put your
You do
hands
this.
right here.
And fill in the back. And if you open your jaw, right below your earlobe, you have a hole back there if you open your mouth.
Just,
All you have to do is put your
just
finger
lift
right
it
there.
straight forward.
Just lift just a little bit forward, and that just opens their airway.
As soon as I did that, he went, and all I did was hold an airway for about 15 minutes for the ambulance to get there.
Yeah.
It seemed like an hour
Yeah.
while we were sitting there, and spared his life. He, that's all he needed, and when the paramedics arrived, he was breathing, he was pink, he was still unconscious. I didn't need to give him mouth to mouth. There's 21% oxygen in the air. He was fine that way. He was breathing on his own, all he needed was an airway, so learn how to do that.
I have a big story too. Mine's not quite as graphic, but my son, he won't want me to tell the story. During the sacrament, you know how they stand at the doors? Well, he was standing at the doors on Fast Sunday with his knees locked, and what happened? A big old crash. He hit the back of the door, you know how it pushes open, and fell back. Well, guess what? He passed out. He'll be so embarrassed. And he was blue. And of course people ran over, but that was the thing. He just needed an airway, so someone who was there, not me because I was at work, but someone who was there just opened an airway, started breathing, he was fine, and then he got up and came home. But never lock your knees when you're standing, especially on Fast Sunday, because that's really difficult. But so these are things, that we're talking about that are not big traumatic injuries. These things could happen all the time. And actually, I was in the temple one time and somebody had a seizure right in the middle of a session, It happens. So if you're educated and you're not afraid of it and you know what to do, then you can be helpful. If you're afraid of it, then you're not helpful to yourself or to anybody else around you.
I can't relate what to do if it happened to him,
Open your mouth. Feel that hole right there?
and I'm sitting.
That's okay. You just pull your jaw forward just a little and it pulls right back. That's it. You got it right there. That's all.
Doesn't matter if they're laying flat.
If he's unconscious, when you lift that jaw, it'll slide. When we're sitting here awake and we kind of reject our own jaw,
Yeah, we have this is your strongest muscle in your body, your masseter muscle right here. When you chew, you can feel this. This is your strongest muscle for the size. So you probably can't feel it right here, but when you're passed out, you're really relaxed. All you have to do, you're relaxed, and when you're laying down, your tongue falls back and just blocks your airway. So all you have to do is just open your airway.
when you pull that forward, it pulls that tongue forward out of the back of your mouth. So all you gotta do is just put your hands behind their ears and find that little lip right there and just lift it straight to the ceiling. So it'll look like this. You just lift right there on that, just right on that bony prominence. They'll be back.
See,
And you'll just lift.
you can see hers, because she's got a good, nice square jaw right here, so you can see it right here. You just push it forward a little bit, feel it on yourself. Put your fingers back there in the hole.
If you pull it, it'll make your jaw kind of.
Practice on him tonight when he's asleep.
I'm gonna say if I did that at night, I wouldn't have to use my CPAP machine.
That's exactly the reason people need CPAP. Because you block off your airway for multiple reasons, but that's the reason you need CPAP.
Is there something you do without get away from that CPAP?
Well, no. Well, some people can. I mean, those that are really heavy, that's why they are. But sometimes thin people get it. It's just the way you're made. And then as you get older, your tissues kind of get a little floppier, and they're not as elastic, and they don't stay in place like they should. Is that a nice way to say that? We're getting a little floppy. Okay, how about, any other questions? Go ahead.
I do, because on the order form, there's 2 tourniquets listed, and they're both pretty expensive. And I wondered,
Okay, I'll tell you all about that.
those?
This is the orange tourniquet, which is exactly the same thing as the black one, unless you want orange, then you pay more. It's exactly the same.
The black one's 26 and the orange is 30, so.
Yeah. It's exactly the same.
If you're a penny pincher, get the black one. If you think you're gonna panic in an emergency and won't be able to find the black one, this is going to demonstrate itself as soon as you open your kit.
Or if you want someone to notice that you have a problem,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter, they're the same, do whatever you want. Okay, we'll tell you a little bit about tourniquets.
Go ahead, okay. So you'll see on this one, it has a loop that it comes through, and then it,
Don't pull it too tight.
so this will adjust, okay. This has a little white tab across it right here, and that's actually so you can write your time on it that you put it on. That's a very important thing with the tourniquet, is the length of time that it remains on. So when you get this on, you'll pull this back to operate the tourniquet. You put it on, snug it to a point, and then you can Velcro it so that it's tight, okay?
It's pretty tight already.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because my hand is
Then-
getting tingly.
I
have to go to work now.
Okay, get your biter, we got a left.
ways.
Yeah, on here you'll notice then too, there's a little bar. And that is the little thing that tightens it. So you'll turn it until it's tight enough. She says you can do it, but I did it on myself and it wasn't pleasant. So this is all I'm gonna
Makes it
rotate.
really tight.
is as this goes, there's a little strap around here. As it turns, it starts to tighten this tourniquet. And when you get it tight as you can turn it, this little C-clamp right here, you slide that stick in there.
To just hold it.
So it'll hold it in place. Then you'll pull this back over, and you tighten this until, like, say if she had a big,
Cut my arm off.
well, we're not gonna get that graphic. Say she cut her arm through here, you've got arteries and big blood vessels, even a major vein can bleed a lot. You don't have to use a tourniquet to completely occlude all blood, dead end it. Just watch the bleeding at the end of this arm. Only go as tight as you need to slow this bleeding.
Only if direct pressure doesn't work.
Yeah.
So try direct pressure, and if it's still really bleeding, then you can try it, right. They are the last resort.
What about, like my son just went to the doctor and they had to do blood work things, so like the little blood
The little elastic
yes,
thing.
the little elastic things that she uses to
Right.
around her arm. Are those any useful in a first aid kit or not really?
No,
Not anymore
they're
than
just
usual.
temporary, and they hurt your skin.
So that is occluding a little blood vessel that's on the surface. So it's putting enough pressure on the surface of your skin to occlude this little tiny blood vessel, so it's not gonna do anything. And like they said, that your first choice is gonna be to try
Direct pressure.
direct pressure. You're gonna get a sterile gauze, you're gonna put it on there, you're gonna hold it and hold it and hold it.
Hard, hold it hard.
Hard.
To where you think that they're losing their circulation, that's the point.
And don't be Lucy, look at it. Still bleeding, still bleeding. Put it on there, hold it, hold it, hold it, hold it. It's gonna form a clot. Leave it there. If you've got this dressing there and you may have stuck another piece of dressing on behind it and you've patted it and it's coming through that, that's the only time you start to consider a tourniquet, and it would be it's a life-saving mechanism. It's not, oh, I need to stop a little bleeder here.
Once you put it on, it's on. You
Yeah,
don't-
it's not a limb-saving mechanism, because my limb's gonna die with this, maybe.
There is some literature that says if it's less than 30 minutes. Let me just tell you, I put this on myself because I'm that kind of person. About 1 minute into it, I thought, holy cow, are you kidding me? This hurts. Literature says if you're gonna put this on somebody, they need to be medicated. And I'm a believer in that because it started to just ache and throb and ache and throb. This would have to be a life-saving mechanism because whoever you put it on, if they're still awake, they're gonna not be.
And it's not something you would use in a short term. Like if it was a small disaster and you could get somebody to the hospital
Yeah, if
quickly,
you can get somebody to the hospital
then you would
holding
never
pressure,
consider using.
go. This is the apocalypse
Yeah.
zombie bandage.
Well, you could use, I mean, you don't have to have the big fancy $30 orange thing. You could use lots of things. You could use a necktie. You could use a towel, a bandana, anything to tie it off. And a pencil. You know, we were teasing each other because we've devised these. We've made these up in our career. And now someone made these fancy things, made $30 off of it. You know, we used to have this little,
It's probably patented too.
yeah, we made these up, you know, for short-term thing in our life, but anyway, so,
One thing about if you are gonna make a homemade tourniquet out of your triangular bandages and a stick, make it something that's wide. You don't wanna use an electrical cord or something like that unless you absolutely have nothing else. A wide band, they even said if you've got a blood pressure cuff, that is a great tourniquet because it broadens the clamp on those tissues. It's less damaging. You get a cord one, you can start to cut into their tissue. I mean, so anything that's broad and wide, if you've got a triangular bandage that you're gonna fold, still leave it about this wide and then start turning and twisting, but the wide band is useful in helping.
yeah, so another thing about bleeding is, you know, you've all had some sort of thing that's been bleeding in your life, I'm sure, even the bloody nose, something, and you put pressure on it and it stops bleeding quickly, like when you have blood drawn or something, you know, they put pressure on it and they say leave it on for 2 or 3 minutes or 5 or whatever, and then you're good, right? That's because you've made a clot. So say you have a bigger area, you put a dressing on it, yeah, like she said, don't be Lucy, look at it, or whatever you called her. So just leave it there. But if you slowly let off pressure and you see that it's not bleeding anymore, don't pick that one off that's full of the clot. That's holding it on. Just put an extra layer on top of that. You know what I mean?
Except that when you go to the doctor, it's like,
Well, that's their deal.
Yeah.
But you don't want to start bleeding again when you're out in the middle of nowhere. So say you need the tourniquet. Say you're at home, something happens to our neighborhood, and you put the tourniquet on as for the 10 minutes that it takes for you to rush someone over to the emergency first aid center. You know, that might be a use for it. You can think of a use for tourniquets, but just be very, very careful, because it does cut their circulation off. But, yeah.
Is there ever a case where you could actually, if the wound is large enough, where you could actually find the vein or the vessel and use that hemostat?
That's what
You absolutely can, and what an arterial bleed looks like is it's gonna be this, like one of those little
Spurt.
long thingies that surround you, you see in this
Little
little
heartbeat.
bright red, and every time their heart beats, you're gonna see this. And if you do have an exposed, like a big fracture with that, that is another reason you can have that little hemostat in there, and you could actually reach in, put it right on the end of that, and just clamp it.
It's really bloody though, so it's gonna be hard to find. But if you can, do it.
Yeah,
But if not, just
Irrigate
put
it
direct
fast.
pressure on it.
yeah, it's pretty hard, when it is bleeding like that, it's gonna have quite a bit of blood. Clean it, if you can see it, clamp it, you could.
Another thing with arterial bleeds is they are fairly clean because it's sterile blood that's pumping out. So just put something on it, you know, wash it off wipe it off really, because washing itself. Wipe it off so you can see where it is, put a good dressing on it. Another thing we've learned in our trauma life about dressings is, like, this dressing that's like a 4x4, okay, say I have an injury on my arm, your arm, I'm not gonna wanna just slap a dressing this big on it, right? Because it's not gonna put pressure on it. Fold it up in a little square and put direct pressure on it. And then fold another little square and put another square on it. And hold it. That makes the pressure point exactly where you want it. And then those are the ones that you can wrap an ACE wrap or something else on there, because really it's hard to hold hard pressure for more than 5 or 10 minutes. You get tired. So, but if you fold it up in a little square, it makes better pressure. And we've done that about 1 billion times.
For the main first aid kit and for the trauma kit both, are there items in there that tend to expire after a few years, and can they be kept in the garage where the temperatures maybe range from, you know, high 90s to below freezing over the course of the year?
Most of them are dressings, and essentially they're sterile, and they have an expiration date where they're not guaranteed to be sterile anymore, but they really pretty much are sterile still. And they have to put that date on. It's like with food, you know. They're still sterile. And honestly, in a bad emergency, you're not going to care if it's sterile. You're just going to pick the cleanest thing that you can. So save your sterile stuff. Put the sterile thing closest to your skin, and then wrap it up with anything you can. A big long piece of a sheet or a towel or something.
If you'll notice, when you get your family pack, it has, hand me that one that you just handed out. This one right here, if you look in the back of it, it's got a bunch of them that are just in there loose.
Those aren't sterile.
Those are
Yeah,
not sterile.
Those are called clean.
But if you had originally to the first level, right on the wound, put a sterile one, and you've got bleeding,
Which are the individually wrapped
then you
ones.
take your non-sterile dressings or anything you've got. I'll tell you one of the best things to stop bleeding is a feminine pad. My uncle went to the hospital with a feminine pad on his arm as he tried to get into his house through the window because he locked himself out, showed up. Hello, but it was dressing, it's clean, which are like these, but not sterile. So the first layer, put down a sterile, and then don't go through 50 million of your sterile dressings. Put something clean over the top of it.
And it's very absorbent.
Yes.
I just wanna say something.
These are all
about
sterile in here, and these are all clean, mostly clean in here.
Expiration dates are usually based on how long they've been tested, not the actual expiration date. So with alcohol wipes and stuff, they'll have expiration dates on the alcohol packets. They're usually 5 to 10 years, actually longer, when they dry out.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and they don't really expire, but they will dry out. So if you go through, if you've had a first aid kit around for a long time, go through and pull out one of those alcohol wipes and open it and make sure it's still moist, because you may need to replace those. Those will dry out.
Yeah, the other thing with expiration dates, like on your medicine and stuff like that, it's not like when it reaches the expiration date, it's all of a sudden poison, you know?
Right.
It's just as good, like an antibiotic, for example. It's just as good, it's just not as strong. It's not gonna hurt you if you take it after it's expired. It's just not gonna be as strong. So, you know, if you have things that are just barely expired or a year or two, I don't know, this is my personal opinion, but I say it's worth having something rather than nothing. So, you know, that's why you need to rotate through them so you don't have that problem, because you like them to be fresh, obviously, because they work the best, but it's not like they're poison and they're gonna kill you.
The temperature variance in the garage?
Well, I was gonna say, in the garage, I noticed they have those ice packs. Those will, if they get in extreme temperatures, they will.
Yeah, there's some things that probably wouldn't be good in hot.
They'll like.
Oh, yeah.
It might say it on the package.
Yeah, but most of the stuff you can probably leave in there. One more thing we want to talk about real quick, okay?
Yeah, we're almost out of time, but this is one of the things that's optional on your kits, and so I wanted to make sure that I mentioned it for you. And this is the hyphen vent. That's the one that you want to look at on the YouTube and watch how to use this. But this is for a penetrating chest wound, okay? And
a penetrating chest wound, something that sticks into your lung. It could be your own rib that punctures your lung.
If you've got a crushing injury and somebody's super short of breath, you know, I mean, they can have a punctured lung. That's inside, you can't do anything about it. But if you've got something that punctured from the outside, this is something that's out there that you can use to do that. And the reason that this is a problem is the way that we all breathe, we have what's called a diaphragm. It's a big muscle that sits down here between our stomach and our lungs. And the way that you breathe is that you pull this muscle down. It creates a negative pressure, so air sucks into your mouth and inside of your lungs. If you have if you have a hole out here that goes through your chest and gets into the inside of your chest, when you draw that same breath in,
It's just like it's.
it goes right, there's no pressure to keep it. It's less pressure than your own airway. So what happens is you'll suck air in on the outside of your lung. So this nice full inflated lung suddenly starts to get air coming in on it, and it will collapse. And you'll get very short of breath, and it's called a tension pneumothorax, because it can even go to the point where it will push on your heart and push on your other lung. If you've got someone that does that, when they take a breath, you hear, that's not good. So that's what this is for. So if you've got someone that's got that kind of an injury, you hear that sound, this is designated, what it is it's just a big barrier. It's like a sheet of plastic. You could really do the same thing with a big old sheet of saran wrap and an ace bandage, okay? But this is one that is in the system that's easy and nice to put in your kit. It has a little back on it that you can peel off. It has a little cleaning wand in there, so you wipe around it, clean off the site, peel it, and stick, and it makes an air seal over the top of that wound. Tammy puts it in her kit and likes it and recommends it because she had a family member that actually needed this sort of a thing. I've had a lady that was up on the mountain horseback, had a little grandkid on front of her, and the horse kind of stumbled going up the trail, and she held onto the grandbaby so that it wouldn't fall or hurt her. opened up her chest like this as she came off the horse and lit on a stick. And she was up in the high minutes. Immediately, they put something over that was, occlusive, and her husband ran for help, but she was fine. She really didn't have a major injury to anything that was going to bleed to death or do anything, but she had to sit there while he made a beeline down that mountain as fast as he could. So it's not a bad thing to have in your kit unless you have saran wrap in your bag. At home, saran wrap would be great, but if you're out camping and doing some major sports, four-wheeling, anything like that, not a bad idea to have in your kit.
So these three things, if you'll look, also the combat tourniquet, that's in here, that's in a little shrink wrap packet here, which is really cool, but we're not gonna explain it. But go on YouTube and look at those 3 videos and you'll understand how to use them. And overall, this is a lot of great stuff. And most of it's just basic first aid. Some of it's a little more advanced, but if you have the concept of what's going on when you get all these different kinds of injuries, and you know how to treat them, you'll be so much more comfortable, happier, not as worried and panicked about some big awful tragedy that's going to happen to us, because it's going to happen, and that way you'll know what to do.
I just have one question related to the hyphen vent. How is that, does that compare to the Halo chest seals, pretty much the same thing, or are those non-ventilated, or?
It's probably just a different brand name.
Okay, I was just wondering.
Yeah. So I was just going to comment about your CPAP comment real quick. You guys all know what CPAP is, that people wear at night. So the concept of the negative airway, the negative air pressure coming in and sucking it in, CPAP's a little bit opposite, is it keeps the positive airway in there. It's positive airway, that's what it's called, so that it keeps your lungs open so that you can breathe easier. The whole point is keeping your lungs open either from this end or from this end, or if you have a puncture anywhere or anything that's disturbed the way it's supposed to be, it's not going to work. And you don't want somebody to be panicking and then be short of breath also, because that's really scary.
Airway's the one thing you want to know ahead of time. You don't want to read your first aid manual, try to figure it out while they're there. So, pay attention to airway. Airway, breathing, circulation is what they tell you in your basic first aid. So, like I said, with the guy with the seizure, it's airway. And then, if he'd have needed it, we'd have breathed for him. If his heartbeat would have stopped, we'd have given him some CPR. So learn your CPR. Go on some of this. This Israeli bandage is a great big dressing that you'll see. It looks like some sort of a combat dressing, and it's actually to stop bleeding with a direct pressure versus a tourniquet type approach. It's really kind of an intricate dressing that's, somebody doesn't want to open that up and have it demonstrated here because it's a little bit expensive, you can see. But if it's something that you're interested in, you think it would be easier for you to do than something else, look at it and then include that in your order.
So basically, just educate yourself so that you're not scared about it. Get some equipment, personalize it to what you need and what you use at home, and include your family, your kids, your grandparents, your neighbors, your whatever, because neighbors are our family in an emergency for sure. So include all those people and put the necessary information in your kit that you might need. And this is so great. It's a big kit, but it has a lot of stuff in it. And you won't have to worry about anything. All you have to do is pick this up, take it with you wherever you go, and you have anything really you could possibly ever need.
Do you have a book that you recommend to maybe put in your first aid kit?
There is a first aid book that comes, it's on order, and it's nice. It's just a cute little book, and it's kind of here. It's right here. It's right here. And it's good.
I think that if you get this and you have small children in your house, you should teach them not to touch the tourniquet.
Come home and find it.
You want to come home and find that a child put it on another child.
Is that container waterproof?
No.
No, this one's not.
No, it's just a basic toolbox, but it's the right size and it looks good. And it's red.
I was just thinking in case of a flood.
Yeah, no, it's
which we
not
didn't put up
waterproof.
there.
You could get a waterproof one. I think they chose to go with one that's more affordable for everybody. But if you're going on the river, you could certainly put it in a dry bag or something along that line. But no, it's not waterproof. But there are boxes out there that are more expensive if you prefer to do it. But it'll need to be about this size to be able to get everything in it.
And this doesn't fit in the bag, in the box, so everything else fits in, and the stuff on the top is mostly just personalized stuff, so it's essentially empty. And this one won't fit in there, so you just need 2 hands, you can carry all this stuff.
Can you order an extra Craftsman case?
Yes.
Yes,
Is that on there also?
Yes.
yes.
So if you've already got your kit from last year and you're looking for a container to put it in, it is individual on here as well, so.
Which is the one with $28 for $28?
Yes.
You want me to go, I'll
Family
go
first
through
aid bandage?
everything real
Okay.
fast.
The first,
Okay,
it's on.
we're done.
You guys can stay here, stay here, you're
Okay.
Peter.
I'll hold the mic for you.
The mic. Okay, okay, let me go through really fast. Okay, so for the $100, you get the toolkits, the 2 bandage packs, okay, go through on the list with me, girls. Okay, so the 2 bandage packs, or the 2.
Family first aid bandage pack,
So
that's
these.
2 bags. The wound cleaning kit,
Wound cleaning kit.
the tool kit,
Toolkit is the baby, okay?
it's right somewhere,
Okay,
okay? The burn aid,
okay, we
which is
talked
up there at the
about
bottom.
this.
Emergency bandage,
Emergency bandage. Oh, that's the Israeli bandage, and it's a 4-inch. Okay,
the first aid essentials book,
okay, we just talked about that.
instant cold pack, 2 of those. Mylar blanket,
Oh, it's a little.
it's right here.
Yeah, okay, for shop.
The 4 water pouches, 5 exam gloves,
The thermometer, did you get that?
We don't have a thermometer here, but there is. Oh, here's the Israeli. This is that Israeli bandage right here.
it's really cool, you should watch that YouTube video. And the PureWorks antiseptic spray, which is
Right here. Which this, if you just spray this on your hands, will kill you. This is like Purell, just awesome Purell.
No,
So
it's way better.
yeah,
It's actually, so I did some research into this too.
okay.
It's not alcohol.
No, it's
It
not. at all.
is a really cool thing that's kind of expensive, that's why it costs more. We use it in the hospital when they put central lines in. This is the stuff they use, and it cleans and it works, and it's the best thing out there. It's not just hand sanitizer.
Yeah,
It's really good
it's
stuff.
awesome because it keeps it clean for like
Yeah,
for hours
And you
after.
can just
so
spray it
wears
on-
off your hands.
spray it on something.
So yeah, just spray it on your hands. If you're worried about dirty hands, it'll sanitize your hands or your
Like
wound.
the wound, like you
Or your
said,
wound.
methylene.
So that's
Spray it
what
on a
it's
wound.
Yeah.
The oil vial,
Oh,
built,
well,
and the toolbox.
and the toolbox.
It's not concentrated.
Now, show us
I figured you could do your own. And then, so that's for the $100, and you can buy all of this separately as well, okay? Then what else? Okay, so we've already gone through there, so.
Then the trauma pack is this big one.
This is the trauma pack. This is the silver. And the reason the silver is on here, a lot of people like to use this as like an antibiotic. Like if antibiotics aren't available,
Which they
people,
won't be.
yeah, you can use silver. I think Tammy said like 10 sprays of this is like a dose. So like if you've got a sore throat or it works a lot like an antiseptic spray too.
Is it
So-
colloidal silver or what color is it?
It is, yes. It's actually, this is a spanking good price on this, I've got to tell you. Do I have to use their paybacks? Okay, what else?
Utility scissors.
Utility scissors are these.
Okay, they're so cheap and they're the best thing ever invented. You know how they package everything at the store and you can't get it open? This cuts open all those packages.
Oh.
And clothes, we use it, they're called trauma shears, and we use them to cut clothes, and coats, and boots, and everything. You gotta have some of these. Seatbelts, everything, we don't cut seatbelts. Tourniquet, the orange tourniquet, or black, the Venter chest seal, the purple splint, and then just extra Band-Aids.
Yeah, we did extra bandages and then those.
The adherent
Where are
bandage
the extra
rolls.
bandages?
It's just a box of 100 Band-Aids.
Oh, it's a.
Because that's what you go through more than anything else. And then that really cool,
This-
that cool stuff and
That
all
sticks
these
on
cool
itself.
colors. And that, again, spanking good price.
So the other thing about, if you have tape, like some of these dressings you have to tape on in order to get them to stay there. You don't have to tape, you can use this, because some people are really sensitive, their skin's really sensitive to the stickum that's on the tape. Just use this stuff, it's great.
Is that self-adherent band?
Yes. That's the same stuff you can get in different colors if you want at IFA or anything. You can buy it at sports shops for like $10 a roll. Or you can get it at IFA for $4 a roll.
What's that called again?
It's this self-adherent bandage,
Roll.
it's $1.25 per
It's
roll, is what we've
That's
got.
what I said, I'd buy it 10.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
really cheap.
The last item on the
Yeah.
list.
Any last questions?
Let's see.
Okay, thank you. That was fun.
Thank you to these two girls for coming and doing this. Like, they're probably both working tonight.
We decided to dress the part. This is what we actually wear when we work.
Yeah, I'm not working tonight, but I have a daughter that's getting married on Saturday in my backyard with reception, so
Yeah.
it was a nice break.
Yeah, I'm sure. She had nothing else to do tonight, I'm sure of it. Okay, so are you all getting kind of the concept of the first aid kit? Go out and, put your Tums in, put your children's Tylenol. I don't know, I've come down from a camping trip to get different medications for my kids before I had my first aid kit. Put the medications you need for your family in this kit, and then rotate it with your pantry. What you have in your pantry, rotate it so they don't get wasted. The other cool fact that Tammy told us last time are these 88-cent packages of all these different medications at Walmart. So if you don't want to, and what it is like 5 caplets instead of like, 25 or whatever. So that's, something you don't have to feel bad about if it goes, if you let it expire or anything. So anyway, I think we've covered the questions. I'm going to talk to Wendy about a first aid class. We'll get that set up. A CPR class. Thank you. Sorry. And then orders are due to your emergency preparedness directors next Tuesday. Okay. Our next class actually isn't until August. Next month we're focusing on water, and we'll do water filters, but I'm just going to post videos online for you to watch because summer is too busy. And potatoes, of course, are coming in August.
Well, you didn't mention one thing.
Okay.
If you don't like it, you can dump it out and use it for fishing tackle.
Yeah, I know, my husband, the one that we did this last time in an orange toolbox, because we found an orange toolbox that was like $10, so it was really inexpensive, but it just did not carry all the stuff, and he took over that one really quickly for a toolbox, or a fishing box, so anyway, I think that's it. Thanks again to these girls.
If we want to order this, do we do it through our representative?
Yep, through your ward representative. If you don't know who yours is, just bring it to me. So anyway, thanks to these girls, and thanks for coming.